in it. Let's go move on to the circumstances of what Chelsea have said. Their intention, their devout intention, is to give this manager enough opportunity to be judged by 2027. Now, if the manager creates an absolute mess of the place, and they don't, and they're sitting in Tottenham's position this time next year, he won't be in the job. And that won't be Chelsea's owners reversing from it. It'll be circumstances dictating and the manager's lack of performance. But what they're giving him is enough confidence that if you do a reasonable job, first of all, we're not going to judge you in the short term. We are not going to do what all of these so-called experts in the football writing fraternity tell us that we should be doing, which is if you don't get into the Champions League, you should be fired. Right, so we're going to quell that particular fire, despite the knowledge of all those.
The manager said it's failure if they don't.
No, he talked about 2027, not 2026. They're talking about.
No, you said it's failure if they don't make Champions League this season.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's a failing. It's a failure to some extent. But
the club
to their fans, it's a failure. To their fans, it's a failure.
But here's the thing: who cares what he thinks, and who cares what I think? The owners of the football club are the ones that determine what success is and what they measure it by, and what they think is progress, and what they are prepared to tolerate as lack of progress. So their attitude is that if we don't get into the Champions League, I don't suppose they'll be celebrating that. I don't suppose they'll be patting him on the back saying that's a remarkable achievement, not achieving something.
No, obviously not.
They'll be saying what they're saying is to the background noise of which we are part of. Don't care what your background noise is. We are going to build with this manager, try and give him an opportunity to be successful. And to some extent, that should be applauded by all the same voices that will turn around and say, it's revolting that managers don't get given enough opportunity.
Would you argue, though?
I'm not saying they shouldn't say that, but do you believe them?
Then the answer is, do I believe them based upon their best intentions? No, I think they're barefaced liars. I think the purpose of that press statement is to tell a barefaced lie.
Isn't it more realistic, Simon, to just... They're supporting him anyway by giving him the job. Why'd you have to come out and say it? Because Jim Ratcliffe sits there and says, Amorim, we employed him for 3 years. We're going to give him 3 years. Blah, 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 blah. Not if he keeps losing games. Don't say anything.
But there's a policy that some people have, and there's no absolute right or wrong. If you don't say something about something, you'll be criticised for not being clear in your vision. If you do say something about saying it, you should have kept it to yourself. So the fact of the matter is you've got to own your own belief system. If your belief system is you communicate with the fans and the overall media and tell them what you're trying to do and what you anticipate you would want to do if the circumstances lead you to that opportunity, there's nothing wrong with that. But to hoist people by this lazy mentality of what you said 3 years ago must now be what you say going forward, what you did. And I know there's a position in life which is if someone shows you what they are, believe them. But there's also a situation which is people can change their view. That was their first managerial appointment.
Well, they can improve their knowledge.
And Graham Potter was a decision that they made at the time, and they may well have learnt from. They might have thought to themselves, maybe we should have kept Potter in longer. Yeah. Maybe the fact Potter got fired is a mistake on our part, and we should have given him more latitude. I don't think they should have done.
But journalistically, it's easy pickings for us because in the past, regarding Potter,
it is,
and it's not lazy. Journalistically, regarding Potter, the Chelsea hierarchy said we intend to judge him by years, not months.
But it's the man.
And 6 weeks later, they bin him.
But it's the manner.
Now they're saying similar things about Rosenior.
But I do think it is lazy.
So do we take what they're saying with a pinch of salt?
Yes.
Well, that's up to you. I mean, ultimately, they've been very clear in the fact that, well, they've actually qualified it with more detail, whether it's Chelsea or Tottenham or whatever else. I've been on the other end of journalism where they decide that what you are is what you are, and in 10 years' time, you're still going to be that. So you're still listening to the crap that you listened to 10 years previously. So the fact of the matter is, I do think it's a lazy trope.
No, it's not lazy, because they engage...
Well, you wouldn't, because you're a journalist.
No, hang on a second.
Well, you wouldn't,
it's coming from them.
No, they're taking something they did...
They do the briefings.
Yes, but the
journalists aren't just making this up.
But the journalists are saying, because you did this in 2023 in your first managerial appointment, there's a distinct possibility you might do it again. Rather than the fact that the Chelsea have said, we are not going to be determining this manager's future by the Champions League this season. So there's your first qualification of the timelines they're not working in. And we're going to judge him by they're giving you absolute definite timelines. Now,
did you brief journalists like this?
No, because I wouldn't waste my time with you lot.
Doesn't it stick in the craw a bit that you can lose that amount of money and still be compliant?
Yes. I mean,
this is a club that used to spend millions and millions of pounds. Then they pulled the drawbridge up after Chelsea had been successful, so they laid a nice foundation base. To be fair, they then went through a bit of crisis when Abramovich left, and now they're still finding ways to play the game
Well, they had a lucrative run in the Club World Cup. You can argue that it might actually have taken something out of the legs of one or two players. That was lucrative for them. But they're sixth at the moment. They've got to finish in the Champions League positions because, again, as we were talking earlier with Liverpool, they absolutely have to have that 80 million plus revenue from the Champions League. Europa League, okay, they'll get a few quid from that, but it's nothing compared to that. So look, I'm just saying, going forward, PSR or SCR, the change, they will need to be in the Champions League.
Our columnist on the Sun, Jack Keane, who's a very keen Chelsea fan, wrote this week that he's lost interest in them in the sense there are so many things going on off the pitch that he feels an emptiness about supporting Chelsea at the moment. Can you understand that?
Absolutely, because of the Americanization of elements of the club. But then the flip side of that is that there's still the Chelsea heartbeats. Last weekend, the East Stand was opened and they had the great Chelsea, the big Chelsea sleep out organised by the Chelsea Supporters Trust. And, former players sent video messages wishing them well, and they were raising money for two local homeless charities. I think there is always an element of that, because those fans will be there once the Americans have made their money